It always comes to this. More nice shit. Hello there, guys. No tattoo progress update today. I wanted to talk about something different. I can't really recall. I'm sure I did mention this at some point, and I know I talked about it on the podcast. Not that anybody really watched that. But I don't know if I ever made a video specifically about 2019 and the day that my account on Instagram was deactivated randomly, without warning, without any email or any notification, and how I got that back. But it just happened to me again the other day, 2 days ago here, and I went through the process of getting it back, and the process was quite a bit different this time. And I just thought I'd probably touch on all of that because I'm sure I'm not going to be the only one having this problem, and I don't want people that do have this problem to feel like they're hopeless, because quite often, and I'm not going to say this is all the time, but it's almost always an accident on Instagram's fault, or Instagram's part, and they're almost never going to apologize, explain themselves, or give you any of the reasons why this happened. So, back in 2019, I was still building my Instagram account. I guess I still am, but I don't really spend a lot of time with it these days. It's kind of my last outlet. Even my TikTok is more important than my Instagram and the chain of priorities. Instagram is like, I feel like it's going the way of Facebook, where it's mostly older people and or a lot of people are just tired of it because they don't like the algorithm, or a lot of the times I'll post something and a lot of my followers won't see it anyway, so it's like, why bother with it, right? But back in 2019, the algorithm actually was working better, at least for me. I felt like I got a good return on my effort when I would post something. Typically, a quarter to or more of my followers would see it, so I was growing pretty quick. It was right in the meat of the blackout journey, and I was doing vlogs on YouTube around that time as well. My YouTube channel was quite a bit smaller at that point, but it was kind of like my journal, the same way that it still is, which is the reason why I'm telling this story, because I feel like not only does the world need to know, but I need to talk about it. So when I lost my account the first time, I had a lot of things going for me on Instagram. I had a big community. I was actually running what was called an engagement pod back in the day. I don't know if those are still popular or not, but I had a tattoo influencer engagement pod that I was running through Instagram, because Instagram is so important to have comments and interaction from other influencers, or not just influencers, but people like you, or similar content to you. It triggers to the algorithm that your content is interesting or whatever if you're getting interaction from other accounts, especially sizable ones. Anyway, I would give a lot of new influencers tips, because even in that time I was fairly veteran at this. Not many people do it for very long, that don't stay in social media world for very long. And I had been doing it a while already. And there's a lot to learn. There's a lot more math and discipline and routine that goes into being successful on social media than most people are ever going to realize or have the patience for. So I had become quite good at it, and I've grown several platforms and done well on every social media platform to some degree or another. So I was in a place to help others, and I enjoyed that role. It was kind of like being a coach. It did benefit me, but I gave more time to it than I got from it, and I really enjoyed it. Now, when my account was deactivated on me, that community that I developed, and it really came in handy, because a lot of those guys went to bat for me. They went to my page and they reported a problem and said, Remy's page is missing. You know, it got taken down and he did nothing, which is true. Especially at that time, I was only ever friendly to anyone. And engagement pods have never been specifically said to be against the rules. As I said, I'm pretty sure people still do them. I don't think that it helps anymore because I think that the algorithm works more off of the amount of time that people stare at something now than it is about the amount of likes, saves, and shares that something gets, which is, I think they adopted the same philosophy that TikTok did with Reels. And ever since then, it's mostly watch me get dressed videos, and the whole thing has become a lot more pornographic. But anyway, I digress. At that time, I had a lot of community, and a lot of people, I would say hundreds of people, went to my page and did the report a problem through shaking their phone. I was able to get my account back, and I even got a semi-apology from Instagram. They said they made a mistake. They didn't say why. They didn't do anything. When I came back up, though, I was even extra careful. I quit the pod. I still interacted with the friends that I had made, and I wished everyone the best with that. And but I was extra careful at that point, and I've never done even the engagement pod stuff again since. But I wouldn't respond to negative comments, and if I did, I would say something like "feel better soon" or "have a great day" or something like that. Very careful not to antagonize, attack, or do anything that the algorithm could interpret as bad behavior. Because there are no humans working on social media platforms for the most part anymore. There's almost no nuance. And so I've heard things like people being sarcastic with one another and the algorithm thinking that they're being mean to each other. They don't understand the joke, and all of a sudden your comment is taken down, you get flagged, whatever. I have kept my communication with people almost strictly to emojis on Instagram these days. And even then, I've thought about just not responding to any comments on any social media pages anymore. Not because I don't want to or that I don't appreciate the support. Even on my YouTube, I've always been very good about responding to all my comments, especially my supporters. I appreciate it. But it's starting to seem like it's not really safe to communicate on social media because anything that you say can be used against you. Now, I don't know what the problem was this time. Again, I wasn't giving a warning this Sunday afternoon. It's a Tuesday morning. I got home from work and my account was suspended. It said it would be 24 to 48 hours suspension. There was no reason given. No fucks given, quite clearly. And they sent me a form that I could respond to, and maybe I can get my account back, kind of thing. Yeah, nothing like that happened. They said it would be between 24 and 48 hours I would hear back from them. I didn't buy that. That's never going to happen. They don't do that. Again, I don't think there's any humans working at Instagram, so you're not getting sympathy from anyone. You're basically hoping that whatever code it's running is going to respond to you in a timely manner, or that you can say the right buzz phrase to win this AI over. I think Instagram only has something like 1,000 people working on, and almost none of them are doing anything in terms of moderating the platform or what goes on. There's some pretty sketchy shit on Instagram these days, like really sketchy shit. I'm not going to get into that. It's probably on all social media platforms. That being said, I had no idea what I did wrong, and I did several of these appeal responses that I could do, and nothing was working. There was no response, and I know it's only been 2 days now, but you don't want to sleep on something like that, because the next day, Monday, right after my tattoo session, I got an update. It logged me out of my account and said that my account had been deactivated for not following the guidelines, which is insane because I've done, again, I'm not holding anything back here. I've got nothing in my back pocket here. I had done nothing strange or out of the ordinary. All I've done for years is post on a routine basis. I post less than I used to. I post 5 to 10 stories a day, try and maintain engagement, even though it's been waning more and more throughout the years, despite what I do. Doesn't matter whether I'm posting selfies or tattoo progress or pictures with my wife or whatever the hell it is. Things don't trend the way they used to for me. I'm more or less at peace with that. I don't really care. All I'm saying is I didn't do anything out of the ordinary that would prompt this response. So then when that happened, I went through a few more of these deactivation appeals and all these different things to try and get my account back. Because if the account remains deactivated for 30 days, then it gets deleted. Again, no idea why any of this shit is happening. So I'm determined at this point that I'm going to get a resolution to it today. Like I'm not really wanting to wait on something like this. I'm not in love with my Instagram platform by any means. I've been less interested in it than ever the last couple of years, but I have worked on that platform for 7 or 8 years, and I had a verified badge before you could pay for them, and I had 213K followers, and there's a lot of people that talk to me through there. There's a lot of people that ask me questions through there. It's always kind of been like my home base for social media because YouTube has a terrible interface for messaging, and so does TikTok. So really, even the people who follow me on one of those platforms, a lot of the time will communicate with me chiefly through my Instagram. And the fact that a lot of people are lazy, they're not going to search out your next platform. Now, I do have an alternate account that's set up for, this kind of stuff, and I've kept it active the whole time ever since my first deactivation or suspension or whatever you want to call it. I've had an alternate page in case my main page goes down. That being said, a lot of my followers, even though you post stories about it and you've got a link to it in your page, a lot of them are either too lazy or too busy to give a fuck, and they're not going to find you again. So, when you lose a page with 213K followers, the next time you make a page, you're not going to get all those 213K followers. And maybe that's a good thing to some degree because a lot of them are inactives and they're not really contributing to your overall engagement scores anyway. But still, if you can keep a 213K following Instagram page, you want to, It looks... I think it would look weird if I didn't care to some degree after putting that much time into it. And it is. It's like a mini job keeping these things running, especially when you have many social media platforms that you're running. It becomes work. And that's why a lot of people don't do well at it, because it does take a lot of time. Now, anyway, to get back to how I ended up remedying this is I searched and searched and searched the same topics over and over. I found a Reddit post from a guy who he had the same thing happen to him. Swore up and down he didn't do anything wrong. He had no idea what the fuck happened. Instagram just took his page away. His resolution to it, he got an immediate response, was because he was he had two-factor verification on his phone. He claimed that his account got hacked, and he got it back right away. That didn't exist when I was doing the first round, when I was coming back 2019. There was nothing like that. But now, I went and I claimed my account was hacked, not deactivated. They got it back to me right away. It reactivated right away. Kicked me out of all of my other accounts and deleted all my drafts on those accounts for some reason. But that's a small price to pay for a 213K Instagram page. I just think it's absolutely preposterous that there's no accountability. Like, if there was something that I did, I would love to know, because then I would avoid doing that specifically, because I'm not really looking to fight with them. I just want to do my thing and be left alone. I honestly think that there has been an inherent discrimination against my content for a very long time. Ever since I started doing the blackout stuff, I feel like I've been reported from certain people, usually white people, not to point fingers, people accusing me of being racist for being doing blackout tattoos. There's people who just don't like me for whatever reason. There's people who don't like the positivity. There's people who don't like the way I write. There's people who don't like the way I look. There's people who want me dead. There's all kinds of people reporting my page all the time for nonsensical reasons. It happens every day. It's probably happening right now as I'm making this video. Now, the reason why I'm mentioning this is because there are no humans moderating any of this. If you're hoping that there's going to be a guy there that's going to hear your story about how you got discriminated against and how you didn't do anything wrong, that guy doesn't exist. He hasn't been there for a long time. There's an AI running that thing, and it's as cold, careless, and doesn't understand nuance as anyone you'd ever meet. So if you get enough people reporting something, saying something is offensive or racist or whatever the fuck, doesn't matter whether that thing is true or not. Eventually it goes, oh, this person's a problem. Get rid of them. I just don't know why going through the applications that they recommended are worthless, but if you say your account got hacked, all of a sudden you're back. That's proof positive that none of this has to do with like you doing something wrong or that there was actually a root to the problem or that there was a human managing it. Because if it was humans doing it, they'd be like, this guy didn't get hacked. We deactivated him because he's a problem. We don't want him on our platform. Instead, it's AIs that you've confused or tricked or who have been confused or that have been confused and tricked by other users into deactivating you for a plethora of reasons that will never be explained or communicated to you. Anyway, to make a long story short, if this happens to you and if you care, if you've got a big platform and something like this happens to you, apparently it's a better use of your time to report that you were hacked. Because I got my account back immediately. And it wasn't looking like they were ever going to respond to me through the traditional methods. So I don't know why this worked. I don't think it should have worked. But then again, I don't think I should have ever had my account taken down the first time, let alone the second time. And I do feel like it would be nice if there was a few humans working at Instagram. And I'm sure it's almost as bad on YouTube. I'm sure it's as bad on TikTok. This is what happens when you automate everything. And we shouldn't be automating so heavily things that most people, they don't just use for fun. These things aren't just used for fun. I'm not on Instagram for fun. This is business. This is a livelihood thing. A lot of the traffic that I get from my Instagram goes to my other social media platforms. And I have considered my social media presence for years as much a passion project as it is a job. And I do make money on this. I don't make a ton of money on it, and I would not be quitting my day job over it. But it is, when they do things like that, it's an attack on your livelihood. And they can say you don't have to use these platforms all they want. When you have a monopoly, and that's the market square, that's where people exchange ideas and interact, and that's where people meet, and everyone uses these platforms now. I don't think it's okay to do that. I don't think it's okay, especially when you're not explaining to people why. I could see maybe if I was being outright hateful, malicious, attacking other people's accounts all the time, being racist, being sexist, stirring political unrest, if I was an agent of chaos, sure, then I would understand this. But here's what I am. I'm a guy who's posting progress pictures of my tattoos, and sometimes pictures of my family, and writing what I think are fairly inoffensive and at times inspiring captions. That's it. That's all my page has ever been. I stay away from anything political. So for me, it made no sense. I think it's probably some targeted discrimination and a tone-deaf AI that just doesn't understand the difference between a real problem and someone that someone doesn't like. I do think it's silly that we can do that, though. And I think that going forward, if social media is going to be such a huge part of our lives, and I mean, some kids are growing up raised on social media. There are kids that are like 10 years old on social media. It's ingrained in them from a very early age. It has everything to do with their self-worth. It has everything to do with their self-image. It has everything to do with the world around them. Some people live more online than offline. Now, if you have somebody that's, especially during things like COVID where we couldn't leave the house, we were primarily interacting through our devices. we're only going to lean more and more into them as time goes on, whether we like it or not. That's the world we live in. So when you have that many people reliant on something, it's not optional anymore. It's a function of life. That's almost a right. So I do think that something needs to happen with all of that right now. I don't care whether this video is ranty or over the top, or I'm sure that YouTube isn't going to like this video, but I do think that we need some kind of regulation on how these things are done. I don't think you should be able to take someone's account down without telling them why. I don't think you should be able to give them basically a death sentence and have no explanation. There are people who make their entire income on their social media, so fortunately that's not my bag. But I do know, I have some friends that they make their entire income on social media, and you could say what you want about that if you think they're being lazy or they're not working hard enough. But until you get deep into this, you don't understand how much work this is, and especially for people who are doing even more with it than I am. It's a nightmare, and I might sooner prefer a regular 9-to-5 job than a lot of what you deal with, especially with these algorithms the way they are these days. They're very predatory, and they don't give a fuck. Anyway, sorry, this one went pretty long. I had a lot to get off my chest. I could keep talking for a long time on this, but I don't think it's fruitful for anyone. I've gotten across what I wanted to. I would suggest that if you're out there watching this and you have a fairly large social media platform, you should have some backups in place, because they don't owe you an explanation. They won't give you one. Don't expect one. You're on your own if something like this happens. And I think moving forward, we really need to address that. All right, I'll talk to you guys again soon. Have a great day.